You know the Camaros and the Chevelles. But what if I told you Chevrolet built some absolutely insane sleeper cars? Machines that looked like your neighbor's daily driver, but packed enough punch to embarrass muscle cars at the red light. These aren't the names you see plastered on collector auctions or retro posters. No, these are the forgotten wolves in sheep's clothing. The ones that showed up quietly, handled their business, and disappeared without ever asking for applause. Today, we're uncovering 7 unknown Chevrolet sleeper cars no one talks about anymore. These are cars you've probably walked past without a second thought, but under the hood, they were absolute monsters. And by the end of this list, you're going to wonder why Chevy didn't make these legends more famous. Let's jump into it and get ready to have your perception of normal Chevys shattered. At first glance, the 1994 Chevrolet Impala SS looks like a standard full-size sedan your uncle might have driven to work. Big body, comfy interior, smooth ride. But what most people don't realize is that this car was actually a reborn street sleeper wrapped in corporate camouflage. It came out during a time when muscle cars were supposedly dead, but Chevy had different plans. What made this Impala SS so unique was the LT1 5.7 liters V8 engine, the same engine found in the Corvette of that era. With 260 horsepower, and 330 pound-feet of torque, it could push this big body from 0 to 60 in about 7 seconds. Now sure, that doesn't sound mind-blowing today, but in 1994, that was seriously fast for a full-size sedan weighing over 2 tons. And remember, this was in the era of underperforming imports and low-output V6s. The Impala SS came with heavy-duty suspension, upgraded brakes, a 3.08 rear axle, and 17-inch wheels wrapped in performance rubber. It even had a sinister monochromatic look that hinted something was lurking underneath, but still subtle enough to fool most people. Want to know the best part? It was built on the Caprice police car platform, so not only was it fast, it was durable and capable of serious punishment. Yes, it's a station wagon, and yes, it's probably one of the last vehicles you'd expect to lay down rubber. But make no mistake, the 1969 Chevrolet Kingswood Estate Wagon was a muscle car dressed as a grocery getter. Back in the late 60s, Chevy offered some pretty wild configurations straight from the factory, and the Kingswood took full advantage. Buyers could option this wagon with a 427 cubic inch V8, making up to 425 horsepower. That's right, the same fire-breathing big block that you'd find in a Corvette or Chevelle SS could also be stuffed into a car designed to haul wood-paneled luggage and car seats. Add to that the Turbo 400 automatic transmission and optional positraction rear axle, and suddenly, this family hauler could blow past most so-called muscle cars of the day. And since it looked like a suburban slug, no one ever saw it coming. This sleeper wasn't built for track days. It was built for surprise domination, especially in stoplight sprints. And today, it's one of the most slept-on power wagons from the muscle car era. Quick question for the audience. Would you ever race someone in a station wagon if you didn't know what was under the hood? Because if it's a Kingswood, you might just get humbled. When you think of high-performance Chevrolets, SUVs are probably the last vehicles that come to mind. But in 2006, Chevrolet took a bold leap into uncharted territory with the Trailblazer SS, a family hauler that packed the heart of a sports car. While it looked like a typical mid-size SUV at first glance, what lurked under the hood was anything but ordinary. Chevy decided to throw in a 6.0-liter LS2 V8 straight out of the C6 Corvette, producing a massive 395 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. That was unheard of for a mid-size SUV at the time. What made the Trailblazer SS truly special wasn't just its raw power, but how that power was delivered. It could launch from 0 to 60 in just 5.3 seconds, making it one of the fastest SUVs on the road. But Chevy didn't stop at speed. They beefed up the suspension, lowered the ride height, and added sport-tuned steering, giving it sharp handling to match its muscle. You could even choose between rear-wheel or all-wheel drive. And yet, it still looked like a regular Trailblazer. No wild flares or excessive styling, just clean, aggressive, and unassuming. This was a true sleeper SUV, and to this day, it remains one of Chevy's most underrated performance machines. When you think of the late 1970s, muscle cars were pretty much on life support. Emissions restrictions, rising gas prices, and insurance premiums had choked out most of the V8 performance icons. But in the middle of all that doom and gloom, Chevrolet quietly created a compact monster, the 1977 Monza Spider. Now, at first glance, the Monza looked like any other Econobox of the era. Small, light, and uninspiring. But for those who knew how to specify one right, it became a serious sleeper. The Spider package gave it some sporty visual upgrades like rally wheels, graphics, and a front air dam. But the real magic happened when buyers checked the box for the 305 cubic inch V8 under the hood. This gave the little Monza a significant punch compared to its 4 and 6 cylinder peers. And while it only produced around 145 horsepower, the car weighed just over 3,000 pounds, making it surprisingly quick for its size. The Monza's platform was originally designed to house a rotary engine, which never materialized. Ironically, this left extra room in the engine bay, just enough to wedge in a small block V8. That's how we got this unassuming coupe with a big attitude. It didn't roar like a Chevelle SS, but on a tight back road or in a drag race against another compact, it could more than hold its own. And the best part, almost nobody saw it coming. You probably remember the Chevrolet Lumina as a budget-friendly family sit-in, right? A vehicle you could rely on for daily commuting or road trips, but never something that'd get your pulse racing. That's exactly the impression the 1990 Chevrolet Lumina gave when it first hit the streets. But buried beneath its unassuming exterior was something a lot more exciting. The Lumina Euro 3.4 liters. Let's set the stage. The 1990s were filled with tame, low-output sedans, most of them geared for comfort, not speed. But Chevrolet wasn't content with just making another boring daily driver. They knew there was a market for a budget-friendly sleeper, a family sit-in with some serious performance credentials. And that's how the Lumina Euro 3.4 liters was born. This wasn't your typical Lumina. It was equipped with a DOHC 3.4 liter V6 engine, making a healthy 210 horsepower, which for a 1990 sedan was incredibly impressive. In fact, this engine had its roots in GM's performance lineup, found in cars like the Pontiac Grand Prix GTP and Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. What made the Lumina Euro 3.4 liters even more exciting was how subtle it was. From the outside, it looked like a regular, middle-of-the-road family sit-in. Nothing flashy, no wide body or aggressive design cues. But once you mashed the throttle, this thing surged ahead with impressive speed and torque, completely surprising anyone who thought it was just another boring sedan. The Lumina Euro 3.4 liters became known for its performance and handling. With its sport-tuned suspension, it was more than just a quick straight-line performer. It was an agile and fun car to drive on twisty roads, giving many sports sedans of the time a run for their money. It wasn't just fast, it handled like a well-tuned sports car, and the throttle response was punchy enough to make you feel like you were driving something special. Most people had no idea how quick the Lumina Euro could be. They'd see it pull away from the light, thinking it was just another bland sedan. But by the time they realized what was going on, it was long gone. When most people think of the Chevrolet Nova, the first thing that comes to mind is usually the high-performance SS 396 or the smaller 350-powered versions from the late 60s and early 70s. But few are aware of the 1975 Nova LN, a model that often gets overlooked in the muscle car conversation. On the surface, it seemed like just another comfortable, luxury-oriented version of the Nova, aimed squarely at older buyers who were looking for a smooth, quiet ride and a practical daily driver. However, what made the Nova LN unique was that it came equipped with a 350 V8 engine, which was still a solid performer for the time. The engine was capable of producing up to 155 horsepower, which, while not groundbreaking, was more than enough for the mid-70s landscape, especially in a compact sedan. But the real sleeper element here wasn't just the engine, it was the car's disguised performance. The Nova LN was built with comfort in mind, sporting softer suspension and quieter interior features. It had a luxurious, cushy ride, which made it feel like a leisurely commuter car rather than a quick muscle car. Yet, when you put the pedal to the metal, the 350 V8 was more than capable of delivering a surprising burst of acceleration. The stealthy nature of the car, combined with its slightly more refined look, meant that many unsuspecting drivers didn't know what hit them when a Nova LN pulled up next to them at a red light. It's the kind of car that would leave people scratching their heads, asking themselves, wait, did that just happen? By 2008, the muscle car era seemed to be fading again. But Chevrolet wasn't done with performance just yet. They threw a curveball with the Malibu SS, a sleeper that flew under the radar for many but packed more punch than most people realized. Sure, it wasn't the classic rear-wheel drive coupe that made the Malibu famous in the past. Instead, it was a front-wheel drive sedan. But don't let that fool you. Underneath, it was a solid performer. The 3.6 liters V6 VVT engine in the Malibu SS generated 252 horsepower and 251 pound-feet of torque. While that may not sound mind-blowing by today's standards, back in 2008, it was more than enough to make this unassuming family sedan feel like a legitimate threat on the road. The car could accelerate smoothly, making it deceptively quick in stoplight-to-stoplight sprints. And while it wasn't quite a muscle car in the traditional sense, the Malibu SS was certainly no slouch. What made the Malibu S even more interesting was how Chevy tuned it. The car came equipped with an upgraded suspension system, 18-inch wheels, 4-wheel disc brakes, and a sport-tuned exhaust, all of which gave it a surprisingly dynamic and agile handling experience for a sedan. It was still practical enough to be a daily driver, but when the pedal hit the metal, it was clear this was a car with hidden performance waiting to be unleashed. Most people saw it as just another sedan, until you floored it, and suddenly, the Malibu SS was showing the competition just what it could do. It didn't scream performance from the outside, but on the road, it sure delivered. So, which one of these forgotten Chevy sleepers blew your mind the most? The Trailblazer SS with Corvette guts, the wagon that could gap Mustangs, or maybe the Monza, the little devil with a V8? Drop your favorite in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button if you learned something new. Because at the end of the day, performance doesn't always wear a badge. Sometimes, it's hiding behind wood trim and beige paint. Want a follow-up video on rare Pontiac sleepers or Ford's forgotten beasts? Just say the word. Until next time, stay fast, stay stealthy, and never sleep on a sleeper.